Greetings. I have returned. The solo gamer has returned from a unfortunate hiatus due to some technical matters. Got myself a new monitor, ran into complications with the capture system. Didn't mean for that to happen, but you know how it goes. That being said, I sorted it out, kinda. Basically, I double rigged a platform so that I could output HDMI on one side and DP port for the other. And now that I'm back, I'm going to play a little Helldivers, but really this isn't about that. This is about me wanting to do some discussion, if you will, about recent political events. No, I won't be becoming a podcast or any of that bullshit. I do this mostly for my own fun. But I must discuss recent events because, in case you ain't heard, he's back. So, I don't know if anybody picked up on it, but I'm mostly a conservative kind of guy. Basically, I don't play. I don't play it like purely hard right or anything like that. I guess libertarian-ish is the right term, but I have nothing but unending disdain for the left, and I mean that with like zero, and I do mean zero hesitation. I couldn't hate them more if I freaking tried. And I'm sure there's good people on the excuse me. I'm sure there's good people on the left who would say, but I'm not like all those crazies. No, but yet somehow they still seem to be the only voice on your end. Just saying, maybe you need to deal with that problem, but not the issue at hand. That being said, before I get into the more detailed stuff, I want to make a couple of recommendations. One, if you have not seen Transformers 1, fix that. Like, now. Also highly recommended. Definitely recommend checking out the TV series Lethal Weapon based on the movies. It's actually a lot better than I thought it would be. A little bit too much humor at times, but it definitely has the right feel and drama for it. The action is really good, like, you know, better than I ever anticipated it would be. And honestly, yeah, I was floored by how much better it was than I anticipated. I can't say for sure if it's something that I would recommend as a like regular thing on your day-to-day routine, but it is undeniably one of those just top tier, you know, heavy duty action type of deals, and it's well worth the time and effort if you're interested in getting into some, you know, good hard hitting action while still having a decent sense of humor about it. It does definitely dive into the pathos, and it definitely does deal with the things it should, like Riggs's, you know, trauma and all that. But it handles it very well, which I feel is an exceedingly important part of that thing's whole deal, is that it needs to have that kind of structure to it. Anyway, now on to the big news. We had an election on Tuesday, and it was a goddamn blowout. A lot of people going into this had this theory in their heads that, oh, Trump's gonna lose, he'll be outlasted. And all I could do was laugh, because like, really, the DEI hire who's never won a damn thing in her career is gonna beat the career businessman with a movement so massive he fills entire stadiums by himself. Doesn't need no goddamn Beyonce or Taylor Swift to do it for him. And as it turned out, I was right. To quote Ragnarok, Just because your decisions are so monumentally predictable doesn't make me a genius or prescient. It just means that you're stupid. And no joke, like, I seriously mean that. The fact that these people thought in any way, shape, or form that this was going to end any other way is hilarious to me. Because I knew going in that Trump was going to win. Now, I will admit to this. No, I did not anticipate or expect that he was going to win the way he did. Like, not just big, I mean megaton, gargantuan. Last count, 312 electoral votes and a 5 million, and I mean million, point lead in the overall, what do you call it, the popular vote. Like, no effing crap. He literally annihilated the entirety of Kamala's whole momentum almost instantly. Like, the night started with everyone at MSNBC, DNC, CNN, all the big newspapers, proclaiming Madam President. Within 2 hours, it was like a funeral. I haven't laughed this hard in years. And I mean this sincerely. Call it schadenfreude all you fucking like. I don't care. I haven't had this much amusement in what feels like an eternity. So, how did this all shake out? How did it all happen? And what are the problems that still exist? Well, the baseline is this. Trump beat the odds by what can only be described as monumental limits. And I don't mean that like that, he was some sort of superhuman. I mean that they thought they had him beat from the drop on, and it turned out to be a rout. So you gotta ask, what was the mistake? Well, the answer is something that the left will not acknowledge. It's sad how blind they are to the reality. Ever since it's been down, everyone has been pointing out that they basically made their entire campaign on the principle of Trump is evil incarnate, Trump is Hitler, Trump is Mussolini, yada, 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 yada. And anyone who supported him is just as bad. And then to their shock, and I mean their utter and complete shock, they were blown out for it. Yeah, because you made your entire campaign that your opposition was the devil, and anyone who supported him was the devil with him. No, that's not how you run a campaign. Call it what you want, call it whatever you like, but that's not how this works. And someone would probably point out to me, and I wouldn't really argue the point with them, that Trump's campaign was a lot more low-key than most people would say. Didn't go on a lot of the big networks. He kept off the radar for the most part. He did have a few big interviews, but the thing I find fascinating is that he took his message elsewhere. He basically told the big news media to go stuff it, go get bent, and instead decided that the solution to his problem was, I'm going to reach out directly via internet. And he did. Went on Joe Rogan, went on a lot of smaller podcasts, went on Tucker Carlson, and slowly but surely people began to wake up and realize that they were being lied to. Like, not just lied to, but absolutely, completely lied to. And so when, at the end of it, when Trump took the victory, the first thing a lot of us said is, don't demonize half the country. And maybe next time you won't get so obliterated. And the left still cannot for the life of them understand that. Now, I'm not usually one to dig into politics. I typically find it banal and annoying at the best, and quite quite irritating at the worst. But I couldn't miss this opportunity to discuss the matter. These people, on their own accord, chose to ignore reality and blame everyone but themselves for their failure. And now they are so inert, so hopelessly without any cognitive ability to realize the truth, that they are blaming each other for their failure. The very people that were part of their whole big scheme are now basically eating each other in the court of public opinion. A good example being George Clooney, who was a huge Kamala Harris supporter. What happened? He's now being attacked, saying he was responsible for the failure. No, he wasn't. That failure was entirely and utterly predictable. You just didn't want to admit it. And it's frustrating to me because I would like to imagine that we as a society are smarter than this. You know, we're able to be more intelligent, more understanding, more introspective. And it's taken 4 years, and the left is suddenly being like, where did the 20 million votes for Biden go? I got a news flash for you, dummy. They didn't exist to begin with. You can argue with me all you want that it was, that Biden was a great candidate. No, he wasn't. He was a barely functional geriatric hiding in his basement. And I don't want anyone to ever make the argument that he was going to be some sort of hero. It was a miracle he could get out of bed in the morning. And yet, these idiots kept saying, oh no, he's fine, he's great, he's mentally astute, he's a brilliant thinker. No, he's not. He's got the mental capacity of a sloth with dementia, which he does have. And yet these people wanted to believe that somehow he was fine, he'd be great, he would do all this great stuff. No. And sure enough, when he bowed out, they immediately said Kamala's the savior, Kamala's brilliant, Kamala's a DEI hire who hasn't won a damn thing in her life and hasn't earned a damn thing in her career. You put an empty suit with little to no redeeming quality other than when she's on her bloody knees, and I ain't never apologizing for that, because she literally slept her way to her job in California. Go fuck yourselves if you don't know that. But no, she was worthless. You put the most airheaded, empty-headed dumb shit against what is arguably one of the most efficient and effective campaigners in modern history, and you're shocked you lost? No. The only shock here was that she got any states at all. And what I find funny is there may be a chance that she didn't get those states at all. They may be fraud. We're going to see what the legal situation comes out with that one. But that is just, that is insulting that the left thinks so little of the people who support them that they can't even be introspective enough to themselves to acknowledge how far they fucked up. But what has been glorious and beautiful, and I am so happy about everything, is this. The fallout, the freak out has been glorious. I mean this with absolutely no hesitation. Watching these people lose their bloody minds over the fact that they got so monumentally annihilated is some of the most fun I've had in probably months. Well, no, that's not fair, because I've been having a blast with Sparking Zero, so that's me being hyperbolic. But It's the most fun I've had with television in what feels like an eternity. And, like, to be fair, Kamala was never going to win this fight. I don't care what anybody says. She was a bad choice from the drop, and I almost wonder if Biden didn't anoint her just to screw the Democrats. Like, if that was his revenge, he forced them to take a candidate who could never win that battle into the fight, and basically left them with no other choice. I love it. I think it's hysterical. And I love the fact that somewhere, somehow, there is, little Joe Biden eating his dinner, watching Kamala fail, just grinning like a lunatic as he watches her fail so catastrophically, and just going, shouldn't have pushed me out, bitches. To be fair, Biden would have never stood a chance. I don't think anybody thinks otherwise. And if you do, you're fucking dumb. But I do think that at least if they had not pushed him out, they might have found a better way to compete. Maybe down ballot, I don't know. But I do know that in the end, they made the choice that they were going to basically put the man who was supposed to be their champion in a fight with someone who was going to utterly and completely decimate him. And then they realized he couldn't do it. That debate basically sealed his fate. And I don't mean that to be hyperbolic. I mean that literally. That debate performance basically left him without a prayer. Like, they knew that he was out of luck. And I think a lot of them didn't want to admit that to themselves, let alone tell it to Biden's face. Like, they were like, nah, he's doing fine, he's doing great, it's all right-wing propaganda. And then he gets up on that debate stage and gets utterly crushed. And I know someone at the DNC just shat their pants and said, oh fuck, what have we done? And the realization must have hit like a thunderbolt that they were hosed. And so out of desperation or perhaps fear, they decided that the best solution to the problem was Kamala. Maybe they thought she'd win a primary. She wouldn't have. But Biden, I wonder if this is possible. Like, if this was what Biden's plan was, I wonder if Biden, after getting pushed out by the Democrats, came to the idea that maybe the solution is to force the Democrats to run a candidate I know will lose, and that will be their punishment for betraying me. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But I know this: they wanted. My guess is if they had done an open primary, Gavin Newsom would have been their boy, which I would have loved that, because watching Trump tear him to ribbons on a debate stage would have been the biggest thing ever to me, and I would have loved every second of it. But barring that, there was a few others they could have gone with who might have had a prayer. But end of the day, the only way this was ending was they were going to put someone up there, and unless they were absolute goddamn gold, and I doubt that, no one was going to win that against Trump. Trump had them basically dead to rights. They may not want to admit it, they may not want to tell themselves that, but that's just how it was. Trump was going to smoke them, and the game was going to be over. Like, it would be the Harlem Globetrotters versus 5-year-olds. It wasn't going to end well. But I do think that it was a real possibility that someone in the Biden camp knew how that was going to pan out, and just Biden decided, nah, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to make them run a candidate I know is basically toxic and see if they can somehow sort that out, because they screwed me, so now I'm going to screw them. And yes, I absolutely believe that they may be that petty. Although, to be fair, I'm actually somewhat doubtful that Biden at that point was even cognizant enough to do that himself. My money's on his wife. I think Joe Biden convinced Joe to do that as one last screw you to the Democrats for betraying Joe. And if that's the case, well then that's messed, but I would not put that past them. I absolutely wouldn't. Yeah, I think that long term, Biden never really had a prayer. Like, his dementia was too obvious, too clear, and any effort by the Dems to try and keep him in the game was only ever going to end one way. It was going to end badly. It was going to end with him completely ruined, and the only thing left was going to be, you know, this image of him as this old, dysfunctional old man who is propped up as this last resort that they knew was never gonna survive. I don't know. I don't see that as ever having been a realistic or viable solution. But that brings me to my other favorite thing about this week, the meltdowns. God, I wish I could do a show where I just react to all the meltdowns. I just don't have the time for it, but I will say, if you're on X, especially right now, you have got to be checking that out. It is the most glorious of glorious things. They are having a complete and utter just catastrophic meltdown all over the place. No doubt, like, all the big news networks are having a complete cry sesh everywhere you look. Like Joy Reid, the MSDNC idiots, they're all essentially, they all know it's over. They all know that whatever they were going to try and do is done, and there was no way they were coming back from it. What I find amusing or entertaining in that regard is she can't even admit why they failed. Like, she is still, even now, trying to blame everyone but her and the left for their failure. It is monumental in its stupidity. And it is also hilarious in its ridiculousness. Like, these people should be embarrassed for themselves, and they just don't have any shame. There's also your usual cadre of screaming, crying babies, the Gen Zers, or whatever you want to call their pathetic asses. They are admittedly having an unmitigated breakdown. It is quite humorous, but for what it's worth, a lot of them are simply victims of media manipulation to begin with. They've been lied to, they've been given false information, they've been told all kinds of things about Trump. Now they're facing a reality where everything they were told is going to wind up wrong. They're all going to look stupid, and I'm very convinced that none of them are going to have the decency or honesty to admit that to themselves or anyone else And they're just going to eventually slink away and disappear because no one believes them anymore. And fair enough, I suppose. You know, live with your stupidity if you have to. I don't care, but you know, like when Trump lost in 2020, there's a lot of people calling about that. I was very much on the side that there was something hinky there. There was something wrong. What's hilarious to me right now is now even the Democrats are saying something doesn't add up, something ain't right. Where did 20 million votes just disappear to? And the answer's simple. The answer's been simple. They were never there, stupid. They were, and always have been, figments of your imagination. Everybody knew it. Everybody who wasn't a brain-dead leftist imbecile knew that. Everyone. There was no disputing that fact if you weren't just a mindless leftist drone. If you knew anything, you knew that the whole thing was a fraud. And pretty much everyone who wasn't a rhino or a leftist drone knew it. Now, even the left is saying, where did 20 million votes go? But they are still not getting the connection because now they're saying Trump cheated. Trump cheated to make votes disappear? How? How did he accomplish that? And you'll notice none of them ever have an answer. Unlike us, who had mountains of video footage and entire reams of documentation showing that these people did indeed cheat. No, that's all just made-up right-wing fantasies. No, it ain't. Apparently, you now have to face that reality that it wasn't either. And it's sad because in a real way, the fact that they're now faced with that unfortunate reality means that the Democrats are now facing years of questions and doubt and belittlement for their own stupidity. And I very much believe that this is going to be the thing that, as long as Trump sticks to his guns and does what he says he's going to do, I'm very much convinced that this is going to be the thing that does in the Democratic Party for good. Like, this is the thing I think that will be the end of their entire existence. Now, you can dispute, argue, say, this isn't the end. I'm sorry. They are in a situation right now where half the country wants them destroyed or just completely obliterated at a practical level. Another third of the country thinks that they are absolute unhinged liars. And then another third of the country believes them, and that's it. That's where they're at. They are in a no-win scenario because if they admit that the 20 million missing votes is, completely untenable, doesn't make any sense, and are demanding to know where they went, then that means they have to be willing to acknowledge and even accept that hey, maybe those votes, maybe they weren't real, maybe they weren't true, maybe they weren't authentic. And if they're forced to deal with that, I really do believe that that's going to be the thing that eventually just ends their existence. Yeah, like, I think that the real problem right now is that long term, the Democrats are going to this is going to be a spiral. They are going to spiral out of control into insanity. And sooner or later, they're just going to start having to be shut down because their insanity is going to keep driving people away. I don't know if it will be, for example, the execs at MSDNC realizing that it's just financially not viable to keep up the lies anymore. And saying, you know what, this is insane. We're not getting anywhere with this. We need to change it. CNN tried that once. Didn't pan out, and they're still considered a joke, but I think had they started the change earlier and started making an actual, concerted effort before, they might have actually made headway on it. But they didn't until it was too late, and then by the time they realized that it was, that they were considered, nothing but a joke in the medium, that was the end of it. Like, they were done. CNN's now distant second, weak third, depending upon, a given day. Whereas Fox News, despite having lost millions of viewers, is still continuing to survive with millions of views a day. Now they're greatly reduced. Fox News is no doubt greatly reduced in their popularity, but they are, by all accounts, at the end of the game. Like, it is over for them. They're gonna last longer than MSDNC or CNN do, but that's only because at a practical level they've got more to work with, and that's going to keep them running for a little while longer. But it's short term. Like, they will maybe eke it out another 3 or 4 years. To be honest, I'm convinced already that the TV ecosystem itself is going to absolutely implode in a few years. Like, not just shrink, but just collapse onto itself like a black hole. And I say that as someone who works in the industry, who works in the field directly. There is every chance that they may eventually get to a point where there's nothing left. Like, they're done. Like, they are crushed, they are broken, they are a shattered, relic of a past age where Joe Rogan and others have ascended. I don't know how that pans out. I don't yet. I only know that every year they get smaller, and yet they keep raising their prices, and they're going to price themselves into oblivion. And if they do, if they keep that pattern up, sooner or later, that is going to be their death knell. I definitely recommend, if you're either on the center or even right-leaning side, absolutely, like, no doubt, go and check out the utter and complete meltdown that has been occurring online regarding this election. It is some of the most hilarious shit you will ever see. And especially, like, not just the talking heads and the pundits, though that is funny, but I'm talking, like, straight up just the absolute ridiculous meltdown that is going on in academia, at college campuses, online, in the LGBTQ community, which they're having this absolute utter meltdown. I'm loving it, because that entire movement has been overtaken by psychopaths and lunatics. And the sooner it collapses and just goes back to being like, something people do on their own accord, instead of trying to push it into the face of kids everywhere, that's when this will stop being a psychopath-fueled lunatic bit. And, like, you can disagree with me all you like about my views on, the current status of things and where everything stands in terms of the medium and all that. But there is no doubt that TV is on its deathbed and will be, one way or another, utterly obliterated probably within the next 2 years. Whatever's left when it's all said and done will be a shell, a fraction of its identity, of its memory. And a lot of that's going to come down to the fact that they've got no credibility. They've got a minuscule, diminishing audience. And every day that passes, more and more people seem to wake up to the fact that these people are crazy. These people are absolute lunatics. And no one wants to admit it, but the longer this goes on, the worse it gets for them. I'm not a censorship guy. In general, I believe that censorship in any form is bad for the country, bad for the people, bad for us all. But by the same token, I'm also very much of the opinion that you reap what you sow, and they have sown this fate for themselves. And now it's going to be an end game where they have to accept that they either messed up horribly, messed up the game, screwed the pooch, went down the pipe the wrong way, and face first into shit, or end game, like I said, end game scenario, they're going to be facing a utter and complete obliteration. Like, there will be nothing left of them when this is all said and done. And while that is something that a lot of people have been talking about, I'm very much of the opinion that in the end, the best outcome for this for any of us is just for them to go away. Let them fall, let them fail, let them die. And hopefully something better rises from their ashes. Anyway, that mission was an absolute nutbuster, and I am grateful to have made it through with all the samples intact, but I'll do another video in a day or two going over this whole situation in more detail. But I'm at a point right now where I am still like riding the adrenaline rush, and I feel like I want to get my thoughts more in sequence, more cohesive before I go into any more detail. But it has been an interesting week, and this has been an amusing day. Days, I should say. But I will catch up with you later. Remember, check out Transformers 1. Great movie. A lot more fun than anticipated. Well written. Fantastic voice work. Other than that, y'all stay safe. Take care, and see you next time. Solo Gamer out.